Merry Meet Friends, Vix here, and I need to talk about my latest book obsession, which I haven't figured out a good name for the genre yet, but it started a few weeks ago when I was scrolling Kindle Unlimited recommendations based on your reading and discovered Z-Shark by, I believe, J.D. Huff. And it's the most brilliantly ridiculous concept for a book I think I've ever come across. And to be honest, the writing wasn't brilliant. The characters were all very tropey. The dialogue was stilted. The reactions of the characters were just beyond the realms of anything. It was like, oh my god, there's this giant shark in the water and 3 islanders are missing. Oh, but friends, I hope it's not ruining your holiday. Let's go and get drunk on the beach. And that happened a lot in the book. But having said that, I so enjoyed this. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of pop culture references, particularly to Jaws. The shark, in fact, is dubbed Ellen by one of the groups in the book after Ellen Brody in Jaws, and I just loved that. So yeah, it's not brilliantly written. It's very tropey. I want to say, oh, it's too far-fetched. I mean, it's a zombie shark. Obviously, it's far-fetched. But the reactions of the real people in it are also not quite right. But having said that, this is a book about a zombie shark. And as such, I need to own this book. It needs to be on my bookshelf. And you know, it'll be kind of a pick-me-up book. So if I'm in a bit of a reading slump, or, you know, glitchy brain is being too hard on me, that will, I think, become one of my go-to books. And that probably would have been the end of it. But at the end of Z-Shark, there was the first chapter of Sea Hunters by William Meikle. And that had me as hooked, if not more so, than Z-Shark. Now, the chapter that's included at the end of Z-Shark is just called Sea Hunters. But when you go to look for the book, it's called Sea Hunters Shonosaurus. So it got a little bit difficult to find because there's a lot of books called Sea Hunters, apparently. Just like if you ever search for a book called The Deep, there's several of those too. Anyway, so Sea Hunters Shonosaurus was so good, so well written, believable characters, believable dialogue. But you know, with this deep sea, possibly dinosaur thrown into the mix. And it was a shorter one. It's only just over 100 pages long. But this one was absolutely brilliant. I think I sat down and read it in the space of a couple of hours because I just could not put it down. And again, it was Kindle Unlimited, so just returned Z-Shark and borrowed Sea Hunters, and just absolutely fantastic. With the exception of, there was talk of the captain's, they kind of talk about it like his white whale. You know, there was a creature that he was attacked by, and that's why he does what he does now with monster hunting, I suppose. And it's kind of built up to be this thing that you're led to believe that what they find is going to be the one that he's been after. Spoiler alert, it is not. So I was a little bit disappointed but also not, because it just would have been so obvious if it had been the one. But it also, the title itself and that storyline kind of sets it up to be one of a series and not just a standalone novel. Now, I haven't looked into it because, guess what? At the end of Sea Hunters, there is the first chapter of The Leviathan by P.K. Hawkins. Again, another one on Kindle Unlimited, Return Sea Hunters, borrowed The Leviathan. And this one I didn't think I would like because it's very male dominated and they're all sort of ex-Navy scientist, you know, something that I can't kind of put myself in their mindset. But again, absolutely devoured this book, which is actually a funny turn of phrase when you think about what happens in the book. Just made a pun. Yeah, so again, believable characters, believable dialogue, well written, fun. Again, another short one, 118 pages. And I have been so enjoying reading these books. So I went to look on Amazon proper and, you know, searched for the books that I've read and then the recommended books afterwards. And the amount of books that are, you know, Z-Shark, a deep sea thriller, Megalodon, a deep sea thriller, and it just goes on and on and on. And I think it's kind of a speciality of this publishing house. It's called Severed Press. They do a lot of creature feature type sci-fi books, and I'm just completely obsessed. And I was really worried because, again, at the end of The Leviathan, there was a chapter of another book. I think it was called Guardians of Atlantis or something. But to be honest, I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't the kind of thing that I was after. I'm definitely a fan of ocean-bound, deep sea type things. And this was Antarctica and they were Nazis and just not my thing. But at the time I was away and I couldn't hook my Kindle into the Wi-Fi, so I couldn't download a new book to read. But just the choice is immense. So I was crippled with some indecision and bought a true crime book while we were out and about to tide me over. But then I got home and discovered a little parcel, not a little parcel. So a beautiful book package that somebody had sent me. Look at these. So again, I find myself crippled with indecision. So this was a parcel sent to me by a secret swap friend. I do a secret swap. It's a year-long thing. And this is I think it's the Spring 2024 Richard and Judy Book Club shortlist. The Spring Book Club list. It's something to do with Richard and Judy and the spring list. So first of all, we've got this one, The Last Passenger by Will Dean. And I'm not going to read you the whole blurb on the backs because we'll be here forever and I'm quite tired. But this is a luxury cruise liner steaming into the mid-Atlantic and you are the only passenger left on board. So, woman goes to sleep, you know, on a cruise with her boyfriend, wakes up and there's literally nobody left on the ship. terrifying, right? How do you pilot a cruise ship? Do you pilot a cruise ship? Do you drive? Do you sail a cruise ship? Besides the point, but terrifying. So, to be honest, this one is a possibility for my next read because I think it will make a good bridge. You know, it's still on the ocean, but it's not deep sea creature feature. Then there is this, Wayward by Amelia Hart. I have looked at this already. Came up on my Waterstones homepage or something, I can't quite remember. And it says 3 women, 5 centuries, 1 spellbinding story. And I like books like this that follow different timelines and different women in those timelines. So, you know, that was on the shortlist too. So 2 out of 6 so far, we're doing really well. There is also The Trial by Rob Rinder? Why am I so bad at this? And it says Murder and Deception in the Old Bailey. So somebody's died. The evidence points to one bloke who's already a con. But probably wasn't him. That's the gist I'm getting from the back of that one. So not one I've heard of, not an author I've heard of. It hasn't made the shortlist, but it does sound exciting. Next is Oversharing by Jane Fallon. Now this, I can tell you just from the cover, this is not the type of book that I would generally pick up. Jane Fallon is an author that I've heard of. And it says, if you can't have the perfect life, why should she? So, social influencer, picture perfect life. But somebody's out for revenge. And to be honest, that just sounds fab. It just sounds like such a fun, easy read that, to be honest, maybe that's what I need right now. So I'm not managing to narrow the playing field very much, am I? Next, I'm not so sure about this one. This one's called No One Saw a Thing by Andrea Mara. And even by what it says on the front, 2 children get on, only 1 gets off. Being a mum of 2 children, I'm not even convinced I can read the back of this book. So that I'm afraid is going right to the bottom of the pile. And maybe when Glitchy Brain is being a bit kinder and I'm feeling a bit stronger, I can come back to it, because I feel like it would be the kind of book I would enjoy. But like I say, being a mum of 2 and ridiculously anxious, that one's a flat no for now. Now this one I have very mixed feelings about. This is Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. And the important bit from the back, I think it says, inspired by the real life sorority targeted by America's first celebrity serial killer in his final murderous spree. Now, this sounds right up my street, you know, big true crime fan, but I take issue with books written about real people that are then fictionalized. I can never quite figure out how to explain this. I love non-fiction books, particularly true crime, but I think when you're putting words and thoughts and deeds onto real people, that makes me very uncomfortable. I read a few books last year that had the potential to be really good books, but they didn't sit well with me. Actually, a prime example, going back to our deep sea whatever, there was a book called, I'm sure it's called The Deep, and it's based on a maid who was on the Titanic and then works on the Titanic's sister ship during the war. And there were things that happened, you know, in these famous people on the Titanic, and the author is making them do these awful things that are just unbelievable and almost defamatory. You know, I just don't like it. I think if it's done well. But yeah, so that's, to be honest, that is the one that has most captured my desire, but also I'm not sure how it's going to go. Now, Jessica Knoll also wrote Luckiest Girl Alive, and I think I've read that. But I think it was a, you know, bought it for 99p on the Kindle, so I don't recognise the book cover. So I might have to sit with that one a little while and have a think about it. But so there you go. So that's my newest book obsession. And this is the book haul that's gonna blow it out of the water. I'm so sorry, I'm really tired. And I love a good pun. So let me know in the comments which one you would read first, which order you would read them in. I did honestly think about putting all the titles on a piece of paper, you know, sticking it in a bag and then just pulling one out. But Sod's Law says I'd get the one that I really don't want to read right now. So yeah, I do have some knitting and some crochet that I need to get done, but I might just take my book and I out for coffee. So yeah, let me know what you think. Drop me a like if you fancy it. I really appreciate it. Subscribe, would really appreciate that too. And I'll see you soon with a new video. Bye.